And just like typical redneck manufacturing, anything can happen at any time. That used to be where my little storage boxes were, and this is where my doghouse was. The backing for the storage boxes are sitting here, and the facing for the storage boxes and the doghouse are sitting here. So, Pump Up Gringo had a really good idea. I am going to redo this face to work with my Craftsman boxes that Santa Claus brought me, and Dad said I should make room for another box. Not that Dum Dum's gonna die anytime soon, but when he does, we'll have a spot for him. All right, I'm just gonna show you this again. That was the structure that was behind the old faceplate. The new boxes are a lot bigger than the old boxes, so we're gonna have to redo that structure as well as redo the face. And I made a decision, instead of cutting that in half and keeping the dog box, I'm just going to redo that half as well. And I've actually lowered the doghouse down a little bit at the top, so it's not quite as open. But yeah, so currently we are duplicating this face plate or face panel. And I basically took the measurements off the old one and just measured it into this one, made it a little lower than the old one. So that way, hopefully my A-frame can be completed rather than deadhead into the 1x that was at the top. You'll see that I have a couple of marks on here. I have a mark here, I have a mark here, and I have a mark here. And those marks go all the way top to bottom. And then on the top, I have a mark across the top. So now we'll go over here and I'll show you what that indicates. What that's going to indicate is, I measured from the inside of this board to the inside of this plywood, got that measurement, cut that in half. So that is half of my true opening. So then I measured from here out to this side and got that measurement, which it's the same just by dividing it. But so I laid the inside of that plywood out, and I laid the inside of this 1x out. And then the top, I measured down 3.5 inches. That way, when I go to lay out my holes, I don't run into this, I don't run into that, and I don't run into that. The only thing I do have to remember is to give myself enough clearance that my structure will fit underneath here, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what we're working on right now. And this is going to take a little while. I'm going to go ahead and figure out my box sizes, lay them out on that face, and show you that step when we're done. All right, so here we are. I got the tape measure out, and the dimensions that are on here, I think you can see them there. They are exactly what they are. So from the outermost edge to the outermost edge, it is 13.25, and then from the outermost edge to the outermost edge is 17.25, and it's 4 5/8 from the workbench to the top of this thing. So those dimensions are exact. I know I got the light reflection right in there. So we'll base it on that. And now we're gonna go over there and center out between the two so I can center the drawers. And that's all gonna make sense once I draw it out, and we'll go from there. All of my structure on my old one was made from 1x. And as you can see, I made sure that it wasn't going to fall apart. I believe it's glued, screwed, and everything else. But this was made out of 1x. The new structure is actually going to be made out of, I think it's considered 3/8, and it's exterior ply or sheathing. And it's crazy what this stuff is. I think that was $46 a sheet, and this was like $32 a sheet. So yeah, I don't want to mess this up. But yeah, instead of using 1x, we're going to use this. Instead of nailing it together, we're actually going to jigsaw this together, and I'll show you all that as we go along. Here we go. All right, guys, so I kind of laid these out there. It's not finished, but I did want to lay the boxes up here just to get a visual on how tight they're going to be and, you know, how close they're going to be side by side. So let's take a closer look. This is going to be the mark for the outer edge. That's kind of the center line of the opening. This is the other edge of the opening, and then the line in between is going to be the center line for the boxes themselves. And then you can see every 1/2 inch, there's a 5-inch opening, and that's how those boxes will sit in there. Basically, that foot right there will sit on the bottom of that right there, and I'll have just a little bit of room on the top of each box. Should be about a 1/2 inch on top of the box, as well as the 1/2 inch of the plywood. So yeah, we're just laying this out to get a visual on it. Here's one thing that's going to change drastically. So the bottom box is going to be 5.5 inches to the bottom of this plywood. On the old system, I believe that measurement was 12 inches, which means that that bottom box is going to be substantially lower. Yeah, that's 12 inches to that bottom box there. And that bottom box is going to be 5 inches. So 5 inches and 12 inches. Let's see, 12 inches is right here. 5 inches is down here. So we're not going to have a whole lot of room underneath that structure, which is good. But yeah, the boxes are going to take up dag near the whole opening there. All right, so what we did was typical redneck stuff. I don't want to forget what I did here tomorrow morning, getting ready to go in for the night. But I put a little mark here and up here, and you can see that all the way up through. That's where I have to cut that out, and then the X is what's going to get cut out. So just marked all the corners so I knew where to cut to and not past. And that's our next step. We're going to cut all those out, and we'll show you when we get done there. All right, guys, here you have it. There's the dog house, and you guys just seen in the time lapse me cutting that out. I'll hold you up pretty high, see if you can get a grip on what that looks like. And yeah, now I just got to build a structure behind that to hold all these boxes in place. So that ought to be fun. That's our next step. Here we go. All right, guys, here's a first look at what this is going to look like once I get it up there. Not sure how I'm going to trim that door out. I'll probably just trim it out the same way that I had it over here. We had to loosen that bottom trim up there so I could slide it over to get to a screw. But yeah, and as you can see, the peak didn't go to a point, so that's why I kept this one a little shorter. Hopefully I can get my whole peak in there. The only thing we have to do to the new one is cut a square in there. I took some sheet metal and made like a little box. It's just rudimentary, but it served the purpose. I think I'm gonna do that a little different. We may make a box that slides in instead of bolts to the back, but it'll be trimmed out just like that. And that's gonna be the next step probably, is to cut that hole for That's my old dog's ashes. His name was Goofy. Pretty cool dog. Got replaced with a even cooler dog. Gunner, are you cool? Huh? Are you cool? Shake. Come on, shake. Well, shake. Come on, shake. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, good dog. That's why we built him a house in the workbench. Come here, bud. Go in there and see if you fit. Go ahead, get in there. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go ahead. Oh yeah, that hole is plenty big enough for him. He might have to get used to that. He stands there and looks out a lot, so hopefully that'll get it a little smaller, keep it a little warmer in there. I'm not sure what it'll do, but it'll definitely put a ring on his head now. So, all right, come in. You come out. Good boy. Yeah, plywood, Mark.